Hi boys and girls, I'm going to make one more video today to cover some things that I think we need to talk about. We are going to discuss and go over recess rules and expectations. So what that means is anytime you're outside, whether it's morning recess, after lunch recess, some classes go outside later in the day for another recess. It is important that we understand and know the rules so that when, if for some reason we break the rules and a teacher tells us that, we understand what we did wrong. So it's important that we're listening during this video. That way we're making some better choices at recess, but also we are all going to be hearing the same recess rules. Every student at Taylor at Richardson Elementary are hearing the rules that I'm about to go over with you. So I'm going to read, we actually have rules in what's called a handbook. And a handbook are rules that are followed by every student, every teacher, every staff member. So I want to read those rules to you, kind of explain what they look like. So that way maybe some of the things we're seeing at recess can come to an end because we understand what is expected of us when we're at recess. So the first one, and I'm just going to read it word for word. Obey the playground supervisors. Students will follow directions of the supervisors the first time they are given. Now, the most important part of that is the first time, right? We need to, if we're doing something we're not supposed to and someone tells us that, we need to be able to listen, and then we need to be able to change what we were doing to what we should be doing. Okay, so really focus on hearing it and listen and obeying it the first time. Okay, they're only going to say something if they see that you're doing something that you should not be doing. Okay, we talked about listening and obeying. That's part of our respect. So that's something that we should be a little bit better at by now. Number 2. Play in the designated areas. Play by the rules and use the equipment as intended. So if you're playing a sport, you're using whatever you need for that sport in the correct way, in a safe way. You play in the designated areas, so we're not running into the roads. If a ball goes across the road, let a supervisor know. They will get that for you. We're on the side of the school that we need to be. We're not going around where nobody can see us. Okay, it's important our supervisors can see you at all time, unless they've given you permission to go somewhere quickly and then come back. Okay, so we're in the rule. We're in the area we need to be. The rules, we're playing by the rules of the game that we're playing, whether it's football, basketball, whatever we're playing outside. For running around the equipment, we're using that the correct way as well. Number 3, students will play games that are safe to all people. No tackling or physical contact of any kind. Now, Mr. Patterson used to be a PE teacher, so at recess I would always hear, oh, well, on my other team we can do this. And I always discuss with them, we have school rules and then you have your rules outside of school, okay? So if you're playing football or basketball, Mr. Patterson understands that, yes, sometimes you bump into each other, right? But we need to try to not do that, and we need to never do it on purpose. In football, obviously we're trying to tackle somebody, but that is not school rules, right? School rules, that's why we bought our belts with the flags on it for some flag football. So we are following the school rules of these sports, okay? So we need to make sure that we're safe. If we're playing games that aren't safe on the playground equipment, we also need to be aware of that. But the big one is no physical contact of any kind. So that's, if you're playing tag with a friend, a tag is a soft touch. It is not a push, it's not a shove, it's not a trip. Okay, those are things that our recess supervisors are going to be looking for. Number 4, no softballs, golf balls, snowballs, or throwing of snow, rocks, or wood chips will be permitted at school. So obviously in the winter there's lots of snow and there's ice. Never a reason we should be throwing that at another student, okay? In the warm months, so the fall and the spring, the wood chips that are everywhere, that is meant to serve as a somewhat of a cushion on the ground. So again, we don't want to be throwing those at students. It's a good possibility that could hurt someone if we're throwing it. So we need to just not do that at all. We've already had the discussion about bringing our own footballs and things to recess. We're not going to do that anymore. The school has bought each class some extra resources, some extra things that they can take out at recess, so that way we don't feel the need to bring our own equipment to school, okay? Number 5, I'm going to read it just because it's on here. Bikes are to be left alone in the area provided. Bikes, skateboards, and rollerblades are not allowed on the playground at any time. So just pay attention to that one. Sometimes those will be outside. Maybe students rode their bikes to school. That needs to stay where it was when that student got to school. Never brought back out for recess, okay? Number 6, this is a big one too. Ask permission to leave the playground. So if you feel a need, whether you have to use the restroom, whether you have to, maybe it's a little bit colder than you thought, so you need to come in and get your jacket, you never just leave, okay? That's part of school safety, and that's part of our supervisors being able to see you at all times, but also knowing where you're going. So make sure if you need to come back inside for whatever reason, you are letting an adult know where you're going and why you need to go there, okay? Again, with the roads, if they permit you to, but I prefer the adult get the ball from across the road, we'd always need to make sure that we're asking before we leave anywhere on the playground, okay? Number 7, this is a big one too. Use proper language and show good sportsmanship, okay? Now, I know that in sports, it's called competition, and usually we get a little bit more competitive when we're playing sports, and sometimes that competitiveness and that wanting to win a game can bring out some frustration, some anger if we're not winning. We need to always be in control of our body. We need to be in control of our bodies. We need to be in control of the words we use. It is super important, and again, this ties right back to respect. It's super important that we're showing respect with everything that we're doing at recess. There should be no words. I think we all know words that we shouldn't say at school. We should never, ever hear those words, no matter how upset we are, no matter how frustrated we are with someone or something. Okay, we need to be in control of our bodies at all times at recess. Number 8, quit playing when the bell rings. We need to line up quickly and quietly, okay? Now, what can happen if we can't line up the right way, that means we're late coming into school and we're missing out on some learning time, okay? So if we're not able to line up quickly and quietly, what that tells Mr. Patterson is that we need to end recess a minute or two early so that our students can get lined up. And I don't think we need to do that. But it is important that when you hear that whistle, or the bell, that you respond right away, because you know that is your cue to tell you, hey, recess is over, let's get inside, okay? And then the quicker we line up, the quicker we come inside. Do your best level 0 when you're in line, because when we're at level 0, we're able to hear any instructions that our teachers are giving, okay? If you did bring equipment, make sure that you're grabbing that and bringing that back in with you. Don't be the student who you hear the whistle and then you keep shooting, or you kick the soccer ball one more time, or you kick the football as far as you can one more time. We need to get in the habit, and this is just by doing it every day. When you hear that whistle, it's time to line up, and we go line up so we can come inside and continue with our day, okay? Number 9, no toys or electronic devices are permitted on the playground. We kind of talked about this with our own equipment. Own equipment can stay at home. We have everything that you would need at recess at school. We can always update some things if we need to. And no electronic devices. Those usually stay in our classroom anyways. So make sure that we are not bringing any kind of iPods or anything like that outside at recess too, okay? And then our last one here, number 10, students will wear proper attire for weather conditions. Snow boots and snow pants must be worn when the snow is present unless given permission to not wear them by the principal or supervisors. Coats must be worn outside below 50 degrees. Students will be expected to go outside for recess unless it is -10 or colder with the wind chill. Shoes must be worn at all time, okay? So we'll do a really good job of making sure that you're dressed with the layers you need depending on the temperature outside. But I'm going to focus in on this one for the shoes, okay? Make sure we're not kicking shoes off on purpose. Make sure that if our shoe comes off for whatever reason, first thing you need to do is go grab your shoe and then put it back on, okay? Even if we're on the playground, even if we're going down the slide, make sure that we are having those shoes on at all times, okay? So those are the rules right from our handbook. Again, handbook rules are rules that everybody follows every day. We try to do our best to make sure that we are following those rules. Those rules are in place, boys and girls, so that everybody can be safe. Okay, recess. There's a lot of kiddos out there. We're all together, and it's a different time of day compared to anywhere else you are in the day. Normally, you're with a small group in your classroom. Recess is a lot more things that can happen, okay? And we want to make sure that we are all being safe here at school. So do your best to follow these rules. If you have any questions, you can always ask your supervisors, but our supervisors and teachers will be given these rules as well. And when we all know the same rules, I think that helps everybody, number 1, understand the rules, but number 2, understand when you're breaking the rules. Because that's important too, right? Knowing when you're following the rules and when you're not. Because if we know that you know the rules, boys and girls, and then we see you breaking the rules, sometimes that tells us that you're breaking it on purpose and you don't care about the rules, okay? So we want to make sure that we care about the rules, we're following the rules, So we can ensure that recess is a safe area for all of our students, a respectful place for all of our students, and then the more we have following the rules, the better off we will all be. Okay, so do your best with those rules. Again, going with our word of the month, it is a great way to show respect. So now that we all know the rules, let's continue to follow them and do a better job of following our recess rules and expectations.